Adam, I am in Tallahassee, Florida, the capital of the state, to be able to give you a fix. That's exactly where we are, where the weather looks like the sun's trying to come out. Let's see where the weather, how it looks today. It was a little bit, see, I don't want to show you too much. I have a map that I bring up of my exact GPS coordinates. I don't think that's what I'm shooting for when I show you those details. There we go. This is a better view of this. Maybe not. So not much rain. So if we're looking at, oh, well, maybe there is. Can I show this on my screen without, you can kind of see it here. So here's my map of Florida, and the rain's a-coming. Pull out just a little bit so you can kind of see the entire state. There we go. So there's the southeast United States right now, and there's quite a bit heading my direction. Let's turn on. This is Weather Underground, Wonderground, and this is their Wonder Map that takes Google Maps and overlays the radar, the hurricanes, fire, models, everything. So it's a great way to see what's going on out there. Yes, the local university is the Seminoles, Florida State University, of which I am an alumni. Someone asked me the other day, hey, how about, you ready for the game? I thought, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm doing study groups and stuff. I don't have time to watch television, or can you imagine watching? I couldn't imagine watching sports. I'm asking people who are obviously watching sports, but I just don't have time. How can you do any of this and put any time into sports? What's the favorite certification I did? There was an old school set of certifications that focused on technologies. It was the CNX, Certified Network Expert. And they had Ethernet, token ring, FDDI, LAN cabling, and I think they had ATM there near the end. And those were great. So it really focused on understanding the bits and bytes of Ethernet. You really sunk your teeth into it, and you ripped out, and you knew the frames of Ethernet and how it was structured, and the frame check sequences and how it was put together. It was really great. Those are fun because it was just a very detailed cert. And there was something I was going to show in here after I was done. These are 27-inch monitors. I gave kind of a tour of this. If you watch the replay, which won't be up there very long because I usually will do a fresh version of this. But if you watch the replay, I went through these 27-inch monitors that I use. This is the iMac that I'm using now. My iPad that did the slideshow. This laptop was showing the slideshow, and everything else is the video and the audio that I use for the stream. A lot of good stuff. Now, there was something I was going to show afterwards. What was it? I said, oh, I'll show you that after the stream. What was, oh, it was the unplug. Let me look around here. Where is it? Ah. Okay. Hardware. This is sort of in the scope of Network Plus, since it is a network device. Plug back in so I can hear me. There we go. So this is, I mentioned earlier that I am able to manage all of the devices, the power of all these devices in this studio over the browser. And I showed you me turning lights on and turning lights off. And let me pull up that list. If I can do that, looking through a camera and a screen. And okay. So if you were to look at my screen, this is my network. This is a device on my network. This is my power strip. I'm logging into my power strip, and it's from APC. It's called the Switch Rack PDU, Power Distribution Unit. And so it has, this one happens to be a 5-outlet PDU. And so I have all of the different devices that are in my left-hand rack, which is there's a fan in the rack, there's a LED light, there's a TriCaster that's doing the video, HTML conversion of the TriCaster that puts the video out so I can see it out here, gives me ability to see the video. The video hub that switches the video, I can put any video any place, the iMac that I'm running on, and then I have a separate strip that goes outside for some other reasons until I change some things in my studio. So I can control these. I can turn them on and off from here. And the beauty of this is that this is the strip. So this is it. It's just the APC strip. Looks like a normal power strip. It's rack mountable, so I can put it in the rack that I have here. But you'll also notice that it has 2 ports on it. The one at the top there, a little bit fuzzy, but it is, there we go, a network port at the top. That's my gig Ethernet, and on this it's 100 meg Ethernet, it's 10 or 100, and underneath that is an RJ11 that is used as a console connection, so I can configure it. So this is how I set everything up in my racks, and I'm able to turn on and turn off devices just by going to a web browser, because I plug this into my network switch, and it has an IP address. I simply can connect to it and do anything I'd like. I can turn on and off things that way. And it has some nice configurations. You can right there, you can SSH into it. You can telnet into it. It's got the web browser on it. It has the ability to lock something down, because if you're on this screen, you're like, oh, I'll just turn off the TriCaster, and you accidentally turn it off and the entire stream fails, and I got to reboot the box, and it has to check the disk and all those types of things. You can configure it so that never turns off. You lock it down, and you can't do that with those pieces. And I mentioned earlier that these devices are relatively expensive. This is a APC. This is, what do they have? What do they call it? They call it the Switch Rack PDU. Switched Rack PDU. I'm just going to look on Amazon. So if you were to buy this new, it's $427 for a power strip. Holy moly. That's a lot of money for a power strip. Now, if you're in a data center, this is a data center switch. This is a data center power distribution unit by APC. It's really designed for a data center. Those are great to have. And if you were buying them new, you want everything that would come with them for new. Now, I don't do that. I go to eBay, where I look for APC power. What was it? Distribution. Switch Rack PDU. Switched Rack PDU. Let's see what we find. So here's one, the 7921 Switch Rack PDU. That's a 220 version, but it's 129. Here's one that's that's a 220 version as well. Looking for a 110, which is what I'm doing here. Here's a 110. $200 or best offer. That's in Canada. So that's not real money. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. My wife was born of Canadian stock, so we're all good with Canada here. Here's Switch Rack PDU, the 7941. So you can get them for 120. I think I got mine for 129. You keep checking around. You can find them. Here's one, the 7901. That's $129.99. Buy it now. They ship it to you. You're done. So that's what I did. I went to eBay and just said, give me one of those. And I felt like I got a bargain. Somebody in the chat room asked about that's the PDU, but I also have a UPS down here. Which model is it? It's the can't see it. That's why I have this. So it's the Smart UPS 2200. That's what I have there. Smart. I know that was uncalled for. That was just wrong. My friends in Canada, which is the nicest people you'd ever meet in the world. I love going there. I used to go to I used to speak at a thing every in Ontario. It was a trade show, and I just got the best ribs there, and would go to Vancouver for CanSec West and that type of thing. That APC, what did I say? It was a 2200. So APC 2200. Does that sound right? Yeah, that was the smart UPS rack mountable. The important part of that for me is because I'm doing all this video, is that the device needed to be an online UPS. So you maybe go back to the A+ videos and watch this. It's not a standby UPS. Standby UPS will recognize when the power goes away and then it kicks in. This is an online UPS. It's always running. I'm always running from the battery effectively. So if I'm always running from the battery and I lose power, there's no interruption for me. I just continue to run from the battery. That's not exactly, that's a very simplified version of really what's going on underneath. It's a little more complex than that. And I'm not technically always running from the battery, but the idea is the same, is that when I lose power, there is no nanosecond of interruption coming over here to my equipment. And for me, because I'm running these streams, I'm running the videos, and the equipment that I'm using down here is all of my audio, for instance, is running on a Linux server effectively. It's an appliance. It's purpose-built for this. I don't see the Linux side of things, but if I pull up my video or my audio and look at it, what is my IP address for that? It is here. So all of my audio runs on a Linux server, which you can't see because I'm not showing it to you. There we go. So it's a Linux box that's doing all of my audio. And I have all of the input. Let's see if I can remember my commands here. All the input, the information I have here, all the output, it's all run from this web front end. So effectively, if I want to see my mixer, where's the remote? Here's the console. So this console screen here is also a remote to the Linux box. If I wanted to take, here's this right here, for instance, is the channel where I am speaking. You can't see that. There we go. It's the channel where I am speaking. So this is the controls, the same thing as the physical controls that I have on my mixer panel here. So I could have potted up and potted down right from here. If I want to mute myself, I can turn the channel off and apply it again. Now it works just fine. So it works the same as if I'm pushing buttons right here in front of me. This is from CompTIA Audio. It is the Radius is the front end that I'm using on the control panel here, and the actual inner workings of the device, the Linux machine, is called the Core, the QOR core for that. So yeah, so Robert's asking, so what kernel version is that? What does that run? Which distribution is working inside of that? I don't know. It's a purpose-built appliance. I don't get access to those. So that's one of those things. Now on my web servers that you are on the Professor Messer website, you are then on CentOS is what we're running there. There are multiple CentOS servers. You're coming in through a load balancer, which is first coming from a reverse proxy. There's a lot of things there. Yes, the sound was off a little bit. That was the demonstration. That was what I was trying to show you, is that I turned the sound off from my web browser. Apparently not quite the demonstration that it should have been. Okay. Somebody asked what was for lunch, and oddly enough, normally, for those of you new to the study group, I have lunch plans. Well, for today, for some reason, I don't. Probably because it was raining this morning. And I do have a date tonight. I haven't figured out where to take my date. Mrs. Professor Messer and I are going to go somewhere and do something, which will involve some type of food. So I will have a very low caloric intake for lunch, and we'll make it up at dinner. This is I count my calories. I'm in the mode, usually get in those modes where I'm going to be good. So I'm in the be good mode for the last month or so, where I'm doing my push-ups every day and I'm watching my calories and we're losing weight. I will fall somewhere off the wagon. Who knows when? It's got to be soon, right? Where I gain it all back. Something happens. Try to get that I get that all where it should be. Still more to do. You ever use that? I got an app that I use that. It's the MyFitnessPal on myfitnesspal.com, and it counts calories and you can log everything. And there's one on your mobile devices, and you can scan things with you can use your camera to scan the UPC code of what you're eating. It tells you how bad it is. It tells you shouldn't be eating that. That's what I use. It actually works pretty well. If you do exercise, it counts what calories you did for the exercise, then applies them to what you could eat that day, and it gives you a specific budget that day. It's really great, actually. Could I do a study group of all the hardware in my studio, and how do I produce it? And I really should, because you're only seeing the producing part of it. You're only seeing the live part of it. So there's a lot of work that had to happen prior to this getting streamed to you. There's, for instance, there's all the stuff on the study group here. So you've got, well, you can't see that. Let's see. So there's all the things I had to set up on YouTube just to get to this point. This is the control panel on YouTube that I'm working with. There is a lot of things had to happen there. There was a lot of things that had to happen when I configure afterwards. When I'm recording this, what format am I recording it on? What do I do with that video once I'm finished? How does that get edited? How do I then upload it to YouTube? How do I link it back to the website? There's a whole, not just a study group, there's a whole course that could be spent doing that particular thing. It's a challenge to get to try to fit. You'd have to take it one bit at a time, because every single thing has a specialization associated with it. Setting up audio is a science unto itself that I'm still struggling with. Setting up video is another science unto itself that I am still struggling with. Video and lighting. I say struggling, but I'm tweaking. I'm constantly changing. I don't like the lighting in here. I want it to be different. So I'm tweaking again. Do I need different lights? Should they be in a different place? Should I set up a rack along the top of what I have up here? Because I have two lights, effectively, two LEDs that you can't see in that shot. That one. There's two LEDs you can't see in that shot. And those LEDs, maybe they should be in a different place. I'm using umbrella reflectors with those. Maybe they should be direct and right on. Maybe I should have a third light in the back. Maybe I should use a different camera that will receive the light differently. So that's just lighting. Now get into the audio. Does the audio now come from the camera? Does it come from here? What do I do about the audio? Had I configured the dial-in properly for longer than 15 minutes, people could have called in today. How do I get that plugged into the audio system and then back where you can hear it without it echoing? What do I do with the video once it's done? What's the best way to edit it? What's the best formats to use? What's the advantages and disadvantages? Where do I upload it? Do I upload it to YouTube? How do I put that on my website and promote it? How do you wrap the social networking inside of it? How do you build the search engine optimization so that people can find that once I put it on my website? Okay. So that's the challenge. These LEDs do get a little warm. So they're not as warm as halogen lights. They're not as warm as traditional lights. They're not fluorescents. Fluorescents get warm too, but these LEDs get warm. They're big. I would rather them be smaller. And DQs, you're right. There's a lot of what I have learned, I have watched other people do, and that's how I figured out what to try. So I have absolutely made visits to the Twit cottage, or not the cottage, but the brick house. Once they had that up, I've been there a couple of times, and they're great. They're like, oh no, here's where TriCaster's set up. It goes over here. So here's how we're doing the lighting. Here's how we control everything. I get a lot of great tips from them. I've got some great pictures that I've taken where I just stand behind Chad and watch him do what he does. It's just remarkable what they're able to do. Mine's relatively simple. I've got this camera, that camera. I've got video I can set up here. I've got these switches, and I could make it more involved, and I should, but just haven't gotten to that point yet. Just still trying to figure all of this out. I'm sure one day I'll make it all work the way I want. And of course, I've got plans for the next version. This is my boat. This is my midlife crisis. this is my midlife crisis that you see in front of you. So this is only the beginning of what I have planned. I have plenty of plans to put all of this in different places and do other things and upgrade and change. And it's a constant growth. This studio is set up all the time. This is 24/7. This is a dedicated area just for the studio. Nothing in here changes. Nothing moves once it's set up. If something moves, that means I'm changing it out. I'm making it different. So this is not like a photography studio. It doesn't go mobile. It doesn't go on the everywhere. If I want to sit down at any point and go live, boom, I can do that. If I want to sit down anytime and boom, to record a video, I can record it. I just sit down and do that. In fact, this is really the easy part. This is the simple part, sitting down and doing the recording. The hard part was putting together all the content. The hard part was putting together the list and the registration page so I can get your questions. The hard part was going through the list and figuring out which questions would apply. And I don't want to duplicate what I had last month and then create the presentation and have all the materials available. And is this going to fit into an hour? Are we going to go over? Is it too little? Is it too much? And then sit down and do it is the easy part. There was only like an hour and a half. That was nothing. that was a breeze. The hard part is before you get to actually do it is where most of the time is spent. This is actually the fun part, the funner part, probably the funnest part of the whole thing. And then afterwards is the editing, which is a relatively rote process. It's a very simple process of just grabbing the video, sticking in an editor. Let's look at last month's or the one I just did, for instance. Let's bring it up. Why am I talking about it? Why am I not showing it? So my editor is Final Cut Pro X. That is not the screen. That is the screen. There you go. Sorry about that. So I do everything in here. Well, there he is. There's the guy from last week, the A+ study group. So I just dump it into here. See, it looks like there's no difference there than what we were doing today. Put it into this view. So I don't like the lighting there. You know, there's things I would have rather changed with it, but I can go back and show all those things. There's me showing my Blizzard front end and everything else, showing the virtualization of the audio of the mobile devices. So I stick it in here, dump it out, and now I've got a video. And that one was, this was the after show. So that was 22 minutes long. So we dump it out. I've got a file. Last week, for instance, this is the thing that gets you, is when it doesn't work. So there's a flow. There is a flow of how everything works. There's a format that I know works, and it's tested, and it's a multiple step process. But from the very beginning, when we shoot the video, to the very ending when I upload it to YouTube, there is a flow in place. Last week, the flow didn't work. I got the video. I output it exactly the same way I output because I've automated the process. There's no way I can screw it up. I click a button, it sends it out. I send it to YouTube. YouTube says, I don't recognize this. What do you mean you don't recognize this? We've been doing this for months. Come on, YouTube. Me and you have been buds for a while, but they're, of course, always changing things. They're always doing different things. So it didn't work. So I had to change up the format and do it differently. And it was not as efficient as it should have been, because I've designed this to be very specific, very efficient in how it operates. And it's very bad when something changes like that and you have to figure it out. That's a bit of a challenge. So that's what we want what I want to do is always have that streamlined method, because if I can make it faster on the front end, I can present and then make it faster on the back end and maintain the quality. I've got a good product. That's what I'm working on. So I'm not done with building the quality. There's always going to be places for more quality. And that's what I'm constantly working on. I think I've got a good editing machine here. This is a great machine to use for the editing. I've got the best video capture solution out there. I've got what I think is the best audio solution out there. So I'm done upgrading those. The Mac Pro may come out soon, so I may look at changing the editing station. But currently, I think we've got a good mix of those things. So there's other things around it. There's lighting. There is a backup video capture that I need to put in here. There's all kinds of places where you can enhance and make better. So I'm working on those things. The set needs to be different. I have other ideas for that. It's just one of those things. You just can't do it in an instant. This takes months, sometimes a year of planning before you're ever at a point where you can do something with that. So Andrea is asking about the Linux vids. Linux videos are coming along. This is one of those things where I have projects that I'm working on. That's where I'm focusing on is Linux right now. So I'm trying to do more Linux videos, and I do a lot, again, the pre-production's where most of the time is spent. So I'm working on pre-production with more Linux videos. We're not done there. There's plenty more to do. I think I can even show you what we're working on there, I think. Linux Plus. So here's the Linux. Here's how I do my courses. So let's look at this. Okay, so on my machine, I have a folder that I've got set up to do all the Linux stuff. So I've already broken the courses out. I've taken the exam requirements and I've built out what the structure of the Linux is. So I've already created, for instance, LX0101. That's the first Linux Plus exam. Under section 101 for system architecture, there is 101.1 configuring Linux hardware, and then there are separate videos, and they're marked green on my screen because they're completed. That's just a visual feedback for me to know, because in there I have video that has been created. I've already deleted the video on my local SSD, all the videos out on my on two different drives, on a RAID 5 array and then on a separate backup drive. So all of the video information is here. In fact, the latest videos I worked on are down here, Grub. Yeah, so these are the latest ones I worked on down here. This one is done. I could even mark that one as being done, mark it green, and then just keep going. So I got to work on managing Linux shared libraries, using Debian, using RPM and Yum, and then we get into Linux command line, processing text stream. So I've already built out. Some of these I skipped ahead because I was trying different things at the very beginning. So I've already built out what the structure is. It's just now doing it. That's it. It's just a matter of doing it. How hard can that be? Just do it already. That's the simple part, isn't it? So that's why I'm getting there. We are working on it. I am working hard towards having that. Once I finish it, it goes into a distribution area, and then I've got all the videos that will be set up. Most of all these are over on the other side, but there's the final version. This is a smaller version of that. Let's do the bigger 1280 by 720. So there's the video, and now it's done, and I can upload that to YouTube. I can have it other places. Again, with the inception. So it's there and it's ready, and eventually it'll get compiled together and it'll be an offline course that will be for sale. But it's one of those where, as the time is allowed, that's when those things get generated. And that's the real challenge, is just finding the time. Everything else is really relatively straightforward. Build the course, record the course, edit the course, post the course. Done. Ta-da. Make it sound so easy. See how simple? Why aren't they done already? It should be that easy to get things going, but it isn't. It's just about creating the content. So I'm working on it, and I've got other things in mind as well. I've got about 15 other projects that I'd like to do at the same time. Just don't have time. But there's other things that will be blended in other videos that are coming along with the Linux. So other things that are happening there. There are no CompTIA Macintosh or Apple related certifications. Apple has the only Apple certifications available out there. It's on a list, but there's just not a big draw for Mac type cert data, cert content. So I'm not planning to create any Apple certification videos, at least not at the moment. If suddenly 50% of the market swings over and is using Mac OS X, I'll be creating some videos. So that's one of those things to get that going. So it's just a matter of time. Just a matter of getting that going. All right. That is the end of our show. I still need some powder. My nose is already getting, see, need to change the lighting. That's the real challenge I have with getting all those things going. It's just time. So if anybody wants to send me some time, that'd be great. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up. Thanks for hanging out in the after show. Very quickly, let me get a question from Robert, who asks, how do I manage my time with so many projects? I don't watch television. I don't watch sports. I just don't. I've gotten so much into doing this. You have to create content constantly. There's constant creation of content. There's never a time where I'm not thinking about creating content or actually doing the creation of content. If you're not building content, you're not putting anything out there, you're not going to grow the organization. So that's what's going. That's why. Do I work on a few projects to the end? Do I work on a lot of projects a little at a time? It depends. If it's a CompTIA project, I work it all the way through until it's done. Pretty much focused. Things like Linux, I'm also going to blend other things in. And when I have time, I travel during the week. I have a job. So I blend in, the 9 to 5, and then I do things after work. That's the challenge. So that's what we're working on. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for being on the stream. Thanks for watching what's going. I'm now going to have my little bit of lunch so that I can then have a big dinner afterwards with the Mrs. Professor Messer. Thanks for coming to the users group, the study group that we have. We'll, of course, do another one next month. I haven't figured out the dates yet. We're getting into that holiday, Thanksgiving in the United States, and obviously the December Christmas holiday time frame. So we'll figure it out. Just keep checking the Professor Messer website /calendar for the latest, and we'll see you next time on the study group. Thanks, everybody.